everyone. As you can see by the title, today I am going to be briefly discussing a film that I consider to be not only a Disney classic, but a classic in general. I did mention a Disney film a while back that I put in the classic category, which was Fantasia, and I would put Mary Poppins on this sort of same level playing field for a variety of reasons, of which I'm going to explain. Mary Poppins as a film succeeds because it has so many elements that are identifiable, that are interesting, and simplistic and complex enough for kids and adults to relate to. So what does the story of Mary Poppins really revolve around? Well, it really revolves around Mr. Banks and his relationship with his children, which unfortunately is not all that well, considering the fact that he is a workaholic, and also the fact that his wife doesn't really have time to really take care of the children, and so they hire this nanny named Mary Poppins, who sort of has this intentional or unintentional goal. Again, we don't really know her motivations really, but at the end of the day, her motivations end up bringing the family closer together. Or her appearance basically brings them all together. And I mean by appearance, by her being in the story and taking the kids to see all these different things and learn about all these different things that she discusses throughout the movie. Now, what do I mean by it's complex enough for children and adults to identify with? Mary Poppins as a character is, I think, somewhat similar to how a lot of people might see their mothers or grandmothers or parental figures within their lives that are both stern but also have a kind heart. The Mary Poppins character really reflects this, especially when there are points where she's very bubbly and nice, and then other points where she's fairly serious and almost kind of contradictory at times, which is a little strange, but at the same time, you still feel like that she is trying to take certain aspects seriously with the children and teach them things that are useful to understand, that require a certain amount of discipline. And then you do see, though, how she lets them eventually have their sort of fun at the same time by teaching them the importance of doing right. Spoonful of Sugar song being one big example. So that's really the heart of really the character of Mary Poppins. The character of Bert is actually rather interesting because he sort of represents the bubbly, nice figure, but he does have his sort of serious moments, I guess you could say. And then the Mr. Banks character, again, a stick in the mud. The kids are sort of more typical kids. I wouldn't say the children per se stand out, but they are fairly likable in that they sort of represent what kids would be like during that time in which the story takes place, which is, I believe, around like the later 1800s, early 1900s. And the interesting thing also too is that since you get these various character traits within the characters, you also get different tones. At one point it's very bubbly and exciting and energetic, and then on one side it's very calm and serious and almost dark at certain points. So there are these tone shifts, but it knows when to shift the tone, and it knows how to execute each scene that it's presenting within the film. So you really do feel like that there is this importance to having these two tones being incorporated into the film in a way that I think really works, because we do see the deeper meaning behind the things that are serious, and we see the joy and happiness that is experienced when the exciting moments happen. So again, I think the way that the film is structured really works because it flows well. These tonal shifts flow. Sometimes I think a lot of films struggle with this, and I think this film really mastered it within regards to tone. So it only makes sense that I think that it would be recognized for, in one part, its songs, because its songs are shift too with sort of the mood. Feed the Birds is not the same as Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Jolly Holiday is not the same as Stay Awake. So yeah, you do have these emotions that sort of go with the songs that are being presented, and the songs are fairly memorable, and they are very catchy, and they do stick in your head for however long, and they do have this the film just has this charm and this seriousness that I think really makes it work well, because you really do see the weight of the story when you get to these serious moments within the film. So again, that's, I think, even more emphasized with the songs. And sort of the thematic messages, I think, too, are very profound for children and adults, because it's really a lot, in large part, about life and dealing with the various circumstances and unpredictabilities that can happen, and realizing the importance of those who really do care about you and who really do want to love you and take care of you, and at the same time you take care of them. It's again that whole family bonding and it is something that's very profound and present within the film, and I think was in large part something that that I think people seem to identify within the film, in particular with adult as well as child audiences, because again, this has this similar sort of appeal. I would say too that Saving Mr. Banks sort of goes for that same feel of trying to relate to kids as well as to adults. Although I think Mary Poppins executes that tone a lot better, I would say that those elements are still present within other films, but I think that Mary Poppins is the one that executes it actually a lot better compared to a lot of other films. But with that being said, that's why I think it's been recognized as one of Disney's best. I would consider this to be their best live-action film. If you were looking at the scheme of things, I would say that Mary Poppins is probably the best in terms of quality, of story, of characters, of tone, of songs. It just has the whole package there, and I think it only makes sense that this film would be considered a classic among those who have seen the film. If you have not seen the film, because again, this film is getting fairly old, I think, I almost want to swear it was made in it might be 1960s. I can't exactly remember what year, but it was either 1950s or 60s, but I'm pretty sure it's 60s. But regardless of the release date, it still holds up really well, I think, for what it's trying to create. And I think that it's something that was close to Walt Disney's heart, in particular, considering the fact that he really liked the Feed the Birds song. There was something that I read online, and I guess people can correct me if I'm incorrect, because again, there's a lot of misinformation on the internet. But somebody said something to the effect of that he didn't have a strong bond with his father. And as a result, you kind of get the sort of Feed the Birds song because at one point that song is playing while the dad of the film, Mr. Banks, who doesn't really bond with his kids, is going off to pretty much be fired from his job. So you really do see the weight, and I think that weight was probably presented to Walt Disney as a child because, again, I think a lot of children, especially back in his day, had to work really hard and had to not really had to just grow up a lot quicker because they had to support the family, and because again, we had a lot of kids that were working, that there wasn't any labor laws or anything. Again, my grandpa, out of all people, experienced this too. There were a lot of families that really emphasized work over being a child, really, being able to just play. A lot of it was really hard, laborious work. But at the end of the day, it's what brings it's what supports everybody to work together, so to speak. But not digressing anymore. Overall, I think that this film was trying to say a lot with the concept of family bonding and the lack of family connection, which you will see throughout the film, and you'll see how ultimately that lightheartedness sort of comes back and takes away all of the seriousness that's within the film, and then brings it to sort of a satisfying closure. And I think that's really what the film was designed to do. It was designed to be this film of no matter the struggles with what you face, it's important to realize who's really there, and who really loves and cares about you. And so that's really, I think, the heart of the film. And I think not just Mr. Banks realizes this, but I think the children realize this too. Probably even the wife to a certain extent, although I'd say the wife is pretty underdeveloped, I think, in this movie. She's not really all explored all that much. So, yeah. Again, I think, though, that's really, though, all I can say about the film without giving anything away. I just think that there's a lot of majesty to it. There's a lot of Disney-esque qualities to it, but it also has a very serious approach with its subject matter. And I think a lot of Disney films have done this, though, in the past. I don't think this is the first film to really be as revolutionary. But I think it took all of those concepts and put it within a real-life setting with real actors and with performances, as opposed to doing it with animation. And I think out of all of the Disney films that were live action that sort of executed the quasi-Disney formula, I would say Mary Poppins would be probably the best out of all of them. and does stand to the test of time, and is probably considered one of the not only the best live action one, of the best Disney films, because I guess you could say you could count it as partially animated because there's some animation within it, but I think it does offer something unique in how it approaches it from a live action standpoint, as opposed to animation, because again, animation is offering you something different than what live action does. And I think Mary Poppins was the best to execute this this Disney formula, but within a real life setting, and putting in serious tones within it, which I think a lot of other Disney films have done too, but in a way that I think is fairly effective and sort of stands to the test of time. But I think, though, that's really ultimately all I can say. But if there are any questions, comments, concerns, more than happy to answer them. I hope you all have a pleasant day, week, month, and year, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.